Welcome back. You're watching, of course, the tail end now of Uongozi today. It's all about dialogues, Tech 2 happening. And also remember today we shall have the determination from the courts regarding the Finance Act, which way forward. And this has been one of the catnip issues that has always been forwarded by the Azimio side on the cost of living, amongst other raft of issues that we're discussing. So today we'll know the determination. Are there some clauses that are going to be knocked out? And will also the Finance Act all by itself in its entirety may be thwarted and go back to Parliament? That is what we'll be keeping our eyes peeled here, and of course keeping our ears out as well to listen to what the court will have to say regarding that. And that is also the basis of our discussion as well, because all matters that has led to demonstrations and why we are seeking dialogue is because of the cost of living and generally the electioneering system of a country. And the discussion that we are having is, should we maybe also try and relook on the constitution so that the winner takes all syndrome that is affecting the country, and we are always exposed to we-they siege mentality, can come to an end? We continue with the discussion. I think before we took a short break, it was Arman Manyora. Yes.
So you want us to go into the winner takes all? An election will
produce a winner and a loser or losers. And we can't change that. You cannot say after an election, then again we get together. It may be desirable, but really then we will be distorting politics. So the winner must be there. But we can debate whether or not we can go parliamentary or a presidential. That's debatable.
Yes, that's the
issue of the winner being there, we cannot change that. However, that winner had better be the winner. And that is the problem with this country. The winner has not always been the winner. And that's why I supported the idea of the handshake. The idea that there is a problem, a fundamental underlying problem in this country, which if you do not address, we will always get back to where we are. So it is better we address that fundamental issue, where it looks like the presidency will always belong to a certain group of persons. Even when you win, and the evidence is right there in front of everybody, and you have scored the most goals in the match, and that World Cup itself, the cup, Kenyan Cup, has been put on the table. The captain is about to come and receive it. Somebody grabs it, pop, runs with it to State House at night and gives it to somebody else and swears him in. Even such a blatant, ways. That is where the problem is. And unless as a country we sort out the problem so that the political issue in this country is addressed, so that the best man or woman who wins, based according to the Kenyan voter, they may be wrong, but based according to them, according to their constitution, becomes the president. Unless you address that, so long as we shall allow shenanigans to stand in the way of the right person winning, we will always come where we are. And that is where we are today. That's where we shall be in 2027, 2032. Unfortunately, it's not just about being there. Every time we get here, there is terrible loss of life and property and opportunities. We cannot go that way. And therefore, I am suggesting and I'm saying that this dialogue is about stopping the destruction and the death that would go on. Death and destruction that may morph into anarchy and mark the end of this country as we know it. So that's not a small matter. Discussing about stopping anarchy, preventing the death of this country as we know it, is not something you can laugh about and say there is no point of discussion. We must discuss that. We must sit down and stop the destruction that's going on. Stop the mandamanos and everything else. After which, then we shall look for a national charter. At that point, we shall decide, do we go parliamentary with all its benefits or lack of? Do we go presidential? Or do we try some sort of hybrid that failed at Naivasha?
But we are still in the hybrid, aren't we?
It's not quite,
and it's really failing.
it's not quite hybrid. We are not hybrid, we are presidential.
We are presidential.
The hybrid of bombers was murdered in Naivasha when MPs went to fine-tune the draft and they removed. They say it was a mongrel.
What is a mongrel?
The mongrel.
That's the essence. The mongrel is you have a hodgepodge of the parliamentary and you have a hodgepodge.
The biggest problem there are two problems. The first problem was how do people elect the president in a universal suffrage and then give power to somebody appointed by MPs? The second problem, which we will have to address because this is not the formalized aspect, is that before you go parliamentary, where parliament now decides who the CEO of this country is, we must look at the gerrymandering and the creation of boundaries over the years so that there's fair representation.
Thank you.
On another day, I will come and debate on hybridity of the constitution, okay? Because it is a hybrid constitution.
It's a hybrid.
It's a hybrid. So whatever the professor is saying, we can discuss that from a constitutional perspective, but it is a hybrid constitution. And it has a lot of internal inconsistencies as well, and that is part of its challenge and also opportunity. That said, what he is saying, we have had dialogue before. Kofi Annan was here. We had dialogue, we had recommendations. That's how we got into this commission that the professor here made money out of, because we don't see what he just earned. We had this before. We even had our truth and reconciliation.
Truth and justice, yes.
We have, and we've been told by Kriegler that unless we sort out election issues, we are setting ourselves up.
It's good you mentioned Kriegler, because
today
I wanted
we
to
are
ask
still
about Kriegler.
talking about election issues. Today we are still meddling around with the IBC. Today we think that we can have election. He's saying that there was a very good opportunity, for example, if you go by what Professor was saying here, there was somebody who would have stolen the trophy and taken it to Uhuru because Uhuru was in State House and he had a candidate. It didn't happen. Thank God that the winner was half in government and half outside government. The point I'm saying is that how come that the allegations are true or still there, even when the person who won was not exactly inside? So the issue about tinkering with elections is a reality. However, let me submit, Kenyans must take responsibility for what happens to this country. Those who elect or those who fail to elect. And to take responsibility is to agree that once elections are over, we sit back and wait for another turn. This business of let's talk, let's have a dialogue is flouting our constitution. Now, Professor here is talking about a charter, national charter. What better charter do we have than the current constitution? It may not be perfect, but it's the national charter. There will be no any other mechanism that we shall have outside this unless we actually review and change this constitution. For now, this is what we have. So these nice talks and this encouraging about, a lot of us will get consultancies around talks and we might be part of these groups. But that is income generation. So,
yeah, Prof, if we will come to you.
I want to quickly explain why my colleague here is not right.
In what sense?
That's what I want to explain.
Yes.
And why maybe it's actually necessary to have discussion outside this document. You see, we did an election, but the law wasn't really applied appropriately. Today,
says who?
Today, we shouldn't be having a speaker from Azimio. Because, you see, like in American Parliament right now,
we should or we shouldn't?
We shouldn't be having.
We should be having.
We shouldn't be having a speaker from Azimio if the law was appropriately applied.
What law exactly? Yeah. If you may get granular.
Yes, I want to move there. You see, the MPs, for example, were grabbed immediately after, because Azimio had 7 or 8 MPs more than UNDA when the parliament eventually sat. Now, but UNDM, I think that is, UNDM was first grabbed. Okay? They were the first one to be grabbed, to cross over. Now, the constitution says that when you support another side, you are actually assumed
to have vacated
office.
You're deemed.
But then you are deemed to have vacated. But then we are supposed to make that announcement. He's the speaker. Okay? So,
Let's get it right. It's not the constitution, it's the law. The political parties act.
Fine.
Because this constitution says that everybody has freedom of choice.
Exactly. So, if that law was applied appropriately, and all these people defected because they effectively defected, and they went back to the people to seek fresh mandate, maybe our discussion may not even be necessary. But when there is obvious flouting of law, okay? Obvious flouting of law, then it becomes necessary for people to say, wait a minute, can we now sit and figure out how we can stop this obvious flouting of law? So this is where discussion is being called outside the constitution. Is not, that's what in my opinion, that is one reason. Because if that never happened, we would be having right now a divided government, like they do in the US, and it works very well. Because when the American president now want his finance bill sorted out, he gets the speaker from the other party, they sit in the White House. And then they say, here, give us this. Then the Republicans want a smaller government, they don't want a lot of expenditure. They say, reduce expenditure here and they will support you. So they negotiate there. And then the person goes to parliament and they pass the bill. Now here you cannot negotiate that way because we have a philosophy of domination as opposed to philosophy of cooperation. And this is where now it becomes necessary to say, the church comes here and says, okay, let's have a national conversation on this. Okay? But if I want to say this, I don't believe that Azimio should have conversation with the UDA. I don't believe that. So because I don't think it will produce
Kenya Kwanza.
With the Kenya Kwanza.
Excuse me, please. This guy was trying to intimidate you for nothing.
It is constitution actually.
Is in the constitution.
What does it say?
Article 103.
What does it say?
What does it say?
That you are deemed to
Article 103. I knew so, and I went there to confirm.
That's what I thought.
He's
But
trying to intimidate you for nothing. The provision right there.
and this actually it is actually a constitutional provision.
No, let's go there.
You see, as you go there, Dibal, I want this guy, these good friends of ours to understand.
Listen,
Which article are you talking
Article
about?
103C, how you may lose or vacate office as a member of parliament. If the member is otherwise removed from office under this constitution or the legislation enacted under Article 80. But more than that, if having been elected, now that is E, if having been elected to parliament as a member of parliament, that is at sub-article 1, blah, blah, 1, yeah? E1, you see, read it.
Yes.
Read it.
As a member of political party,
Yes.
the member resigns from the party or is deemed to have resigned from
it's
the
in the
party
Constitution.
as determined in accordance with the legislation contemplated in clause 2.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or as an independent candidate, the member joins a political party.
So
At the
right
end of
there
the
in
term of the
Constitution.
relevant
Now
house.
continue with your argument. You're right.
No, you see,
So what we are now saying,
just read it. Because we are talking about
just rent it.
Just a
This is not a very big issue, but we needed to clarify.
But what is the clarity here?
The clarity is this here.
because we are talking about the constitution.
Okay, just a moment, so that we
because
might
we are talking
have...
about the constitution.
Yes, please.
I really want my colleagues here to understand that the law is not read that way. The law is read
Contextually.
in contextual plus
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
For example, the freedom of association, which is a Bill of Rights issue. And Watangula was on that point. He said, look guys, whereas this is the law, there is also these constitutional rights here, and it's not an obvious thing. And he says, if determined. Now, in terms of standing orders, it's the speaker who makes that determination. Now, if the speaker makes that determination, you either fault him, but you cannot ignore his role in so doing. So this business we are raising here is a little superfluous. The point is this, what the professor is talking about, that Azimio should have had the speaker, that's a different point. And perhaps what I want to argue is this, we are in a political system. If a government in power is going to influence others and actually influence them to vote with them, they will do that. So that it's,
and reading of the law is
I think
Because the same
you see the
law,
point
listen,
to me, I'm
no,
looking
no,
at this.
Professor,
Just a moment.
He's also misguiding us,
Yeah.
misleading us. In terms of interpreting the law, I'm not a lawyer, but the law does not expect you to try and interpret things that have been provided for in a
but you've just read that if determined.
In a clear language,
in a clear language?
clear language, you are deemed to have defected.
But
So,
as determined, isn't it?
what I'm saying though is if the law was followed, the speaker should have declared those positions vacant.
Yes.
so that these people go back and seek a fresh mandate in a party of their choice.
Okay.
Because they were elected as members of another party.
But we need to make it very clear, because
But
yes,
much more importantly,
what has been flagged, it's
just
very
a moment. But much more importantly, the speaker even need not have declared them non-members. The speaker only needed to look at the formations at the time of elections. Which side had the
Why
majority?
you?
No, but
The majority was with
us.
Azimio. It's not a question for interpretation.
No, the matter was taken to the
Listen.
speaker for interpretation. So he
Listen,
did.
All right,
even
can
the
we-
registrar of political parties leading parliament to make that decision gave the numbers. And the numbers were on the side of Azimio. There was nothing to interpret. Come on.
Okay, so we have members, and we can talk to a political party leader here, especially in light of this developments as well, just to get clarity.
Mr. Green.
Yeah, you were deemed. If you have a member of the Green Thinking Action Party who is in bed with UDA, you as a political party leader, in light of what Harman has also flagged from 103, vacation of office of member of parliament, one can be if he has died, but he is gone to E. If having been elected to parliament as a member of political party, the member resigns from that party or is deemed to have resigned. That deeming is what we want to know. Deeming to have
And they were
resigned.
declaring on the
If you've
floor
been
that they
deemed to
had
have
resigned.
resigned, this is where we need to get clarity.
They were in fact declaring.
What
What are the hallmarks of deeming?
There was nothing deemed there.
Yeah,
They
what-
declared on the
Support,
party, on the
declare
floor.
support for another party.
They've declared.
Yeah.
What would you be as a? I mean, what action will you take as a party leader?
Okay, let me appreciate this session in a very profound manner. I have said it before here that sitting with professors like I have, you know, I'm the luckiest man on earth because I'm in class every moment that I am in such a session, and I really appreciate great people who have done great things. Look at what Martin has lost his sleep for overnight, preparing curriculum for master student in this country, and I really want to appreciate each one of them. I want to deviate a bit from your question with a reason. The people that you see in this country is not just about the constitution, it's about the values that we stand for as a nation. I want to tell you for sure, President Ruto and the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga are buddies to the core. Very great friends outside the life of politics. They have family relations, they have friends, they have everything that would surprise you. And we need to ask each other, if today President Ruto and Raila Odinga met at a birthday party for one of their grandchildren, and a photo was taken of them just having a cake, holding children together, you'd be surprised at how the nation will be so calm that these guys are talking, that these guys are friends. Just a photo in a birthday party without anything else. The country will just calm down. What is that is causing that that we cannot take advantage of? It means the calmness is led by somebody who believes that Raila Odinga is their leader, and when he is respected by others, then I am respected, and vice versa. When somebody talks in a manner that seems to be disrespectful to President Ruto, they feel so much offended because that's my man, that's my buddy. That is what we need to start addressing as a nation. How do we address that? What is the negotiation, discussion? What is this dialogue we are calling? What is it that I am calling engagement? By just toning down the way we talk at each other, by just having slight respect, by just toning down the way and seemingly looking human in the way that we approach, either supporting the president or seeking for the opposition. Just a moment. Allow me to finish. Allow me to finish. I'm sorry.
Because you're starting from afar. That's your very simple question.
I'm getting there. Because we need to address the real issues of Kenya. The real issues is not the constitution interpretation.
But this is a real issue.
Yeah, so let me finish.
This is a real issue, and is a
you will allow me to finish
I need to button because now you're coming from afar. I just need you to go
the
directly.
Far is what we have been missing over time. And I'm not talking for a whole year. All I'm talking about is the fact that we need to tone down. We need to respect each other. We need to engage at levels that we need to identify ways of connecting with the electorate. We must not get to the leadership and forget the people who elected us, whether won or not. This is the thing that we need to do.
I asked you about
Getting back to your point. The way we manage our political parties varies. And the party has got constitution, the party has got a way of interpretation, and I like what Martin talked about, that you may not interpret all this without looking at it is in context of what is applied, and therefore the constitution, any disciplinary action that is valid and based and allowed by the political party and verified by the political party organization that does this applies. And it is beyond an individual and even the leadership of that party, because it's about the constitution and what it says and interpreted. So it is a situation that it's about the law. It is what needs to be done at what time, without, irrespective of who is the wrong person in this particular case. So I will just say that law applies, the constitution of the party applies, disciplinary action takes place, and there should be no confusion whatsoever. This document, just like we said, you can't go to the court to say that you are disputing what the constitution is talking about, because it protects itself. Similarly, all the other institutions, policies and constitutions apply, and everything that goes with it. I may not respond to you the way you want, because I do not
want what he wants. He had a question. Because the point is, and both of these gentlemen here cannot confirm who among the elected members of parliament today has been deemed to have resigned and has actually left office. Because they are still in parliament and they are still earning.
Yeah,
even the legs of the senator of Kisumu, who is a lawyer, can tell you that he has freedom. He has not. He says he's still in ODM, but he can associate with other people.
All right,
and so on. So
it's 8:30. Can I take another short break? Then we circle back as we marinate on that. So this deeming that has not been deemed to be deeming.
I will address that issue.
Yeah, can we address it once and for all?
Once and for all.
You have it in the constitution. You have it in the act. Yet people will hope. Well, people speak on the other side of a divide while they're still on this other side of the political party. Let's take a short break. Then we circle back.
KTN News. Get the whole story. Calling all expectant mothers and new moms in Mombasa. The Standard Group PLC